Hey, all right, so this is Dr. Kapreta here. I wanted to come on and just do a quick recipe for vegan greens. I know the holidays are coming up, specifically Thanksgiving, and the buzzword this year is low vibrational plates. And listen, I want you to have your low vibrational plates. I'm not going to judge you because I don't want you judging me because I'm definitely going to have some vibrating plates on my table. But I want to show you a healthier alternative to making some of your best recipes for Thanksgiving, but making them vegan. So today, I'm going to show you how to make vegan collard greens. And I'm talking about ones where you don't miss that smoked meat that's in it. All right, so are you ready to get started? All right, so you're gonna be working with me. I'm gonna prepare this fresh, and so then I'll come back on later and do probably a follow-up video with the finished products. But let's get started. You ready? All right, so first we're going to start. We're gonna have our pan here, and in this pan, let me make sure you can see the pan. All right, there you go. So in this pan, we're going to start off with first, we have just some grapeseed oil. So I'm going to turn on my eye and I'm going to put it on medium because I'm going to saute some vegetables in this. All right, and so we got our eye on. In this pan, I'm actually adding right here, these are onions. So this is some diced onion. It can be yellow onions, sweet onions. Not necessarily, I don't necessarily put sweet onions, but honestly, it could be any onion that you find that resembles the color yellow. That's fine. I use yellow onions. Now I'm adding some diced green bell peppers. So I want some bell peppers in my greens. And I'm also going to add some red bell peppers, diced red bell peppers. Here's the thing about greens. You can put what you want to put in your greens. And this is what I usually put in my greens. So as you're endeavoring to do this, whatever vegetables or seasonings you put in your traditional greens that does not contain meat or animal products, feel free to put it in this pot. And so I'm also adding some diced garlic. So about two small cloves of diced garlic. And that was maybe 1/4 of an onion, if it was 1/4, and then 1/3 of the bell pepper and both the red bell pepper and the green bell pepper. Okay, and so we're going to let that start sauteing. So that should be coming along. Our eye is on. So yes, our eye is on. So that should be starting to saute in just a moment. All right, I'm going to put my spatula there. I want to make sure you can see what's in this pan, and I think you can. I think that's a good view. That would probably be a better view, but this is what we're working with, so I think this works. All right, so that's what we're working with. Okay, so we got our vegetables in there or whatever, and we're sauteing them, or they're waiting on them to start sauteing. So they're in our pan, and we're ready to go. So as that's doing that, I have a bowl of collard greens that are already cut up and washed. All right, so you choose to clean your collard greens however you want to clean them, with whatever you want to clean them with, and cut them up as you would usually cut them up, like so. And we're going to add those in just a moment. While this is preparing to saute, I also want to show you some other things that we're going to be using. So one of the things we're going to be using is this. Not necessarily this brand. You can use whatever brand you want, but so ignore the brand, but what I want you to see here is vegetable broth. That is the word I want you to remember. Vegetable broth, vegetable broth, vegetable broth. Not necessarily live, but I definitely believe in using vegetable broth. I'm here. Hi. Yeah. So I believe in using vegetable broth, and if you can hear this, our vegetables are go ahead and they're starting to cook. So I believe in using vegetable broth because in traditional greens, let's bring you up here. So in traditional greens, when you're preparing greens, maybe the traditional way, you would bring some water to boil with some kind of smoked meat in it, right? So that's how my grandmother taught me how to make it, or my mother. And when I was learning to cook, you would bring a boiling water to, you would bring water to boil, add your smoked meat, and then you'll eventually add your greens. Well, because this is the vegan preparation way and we don't want to use meat, then we don't have any smoked meat to add to our water to give it that taste. So we use vegetable broth. Vegetable broth has the flavor that we're looking for. So vegetable broth has part of the flavor that we're looking for our greens. So that is why we want to use it. So what I'm doing now, while you're looking at me look down, I'm stirring. So I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see that, okay? So here I am. I'm just stirring around our vegetables as they're beginning to saute. You see the smoke coming from this pan. I did raise up this heat to like 5.5, which is a medium, kind of still medium, not quite high. Well, actually, let's put it on 6, because 5 is medium. And so I want this to be a little hotter than 5 as this is sauteing. So we're going to get those sauteing. If I did not mention it, I don't think I did, but I'm sauteing these in grapeseed oil. I prefer to use grapeseed oil. No rhyme or reason. I just like it. It's a more subtle taste than some other stuff. I don't want to use vegetable oil necessarily because I don't necessarily want these to fry. And vegetable oil has a higher burn content, I think. So I want this to give me the flavor, give me the appearance as if I'm sauteing these in butter, but I'm not. I'm sauteing these in grapeseed oil, okay? If you have plant-based butter, you can definitely saute these in plant-based butter. Remember, vegan means no dairy products, no animal products, not just dairy, but no animal products, no animal byproducts. So we don't want any dairy, butter, any ghee or ghee, however you pronounce it, that's made from animal butter. We don't want any of that, okay? So that's what we're doing. We're sauteing these. As this is sauteing, I have one more leaf of of greens to chop up. And so I'm gonna kind of transition to over here so you can see me chop up these greens. Let's adjust our camera so you can see the greens. And these are just a few of the leaves of the collard greens that I have. So what I'm going to do is just bring these together. And I'm going to roll them. And then I'm going to cut them up. So they're rolled like this, right? Can you see that? They're rolled like this. So initially, they were like this. They're leaves. And I'm going to fold them in half. And then I'm going to take them and I'm going to start rolling them just like this. I want to roll them up so that I can cut them. Alright? So I'm going to bring them over here and I'm just going to kind of cut them into like, so almost like you're making pinwheels. So when you cut them, they end up being cut kind of like a pinwheel, kind of like that, okay? So that's what we're looking for. All right, our vegetables are looking good. They're becoming translucent. So it's about time to add our greens. All right, so I'm gonna put that there. Now that our vegetables, let me change the camera view so you can see, so you can stay in the loop. All right, so these are our vegetables. You want to make sure we don't burn anything. However, if a little bit gets burned on the bottom, no worries. It'll all be taken care of. But my dad used to tell me you cannot cook while you're in the bedroom. You know, that was teenage Kapreta, because I like to put stuff on the stove and then go watch TV or whatever. And he was like, you can't, that's not how you cook. So anyways, saying that to say, once you're sauteing some vegetables, you want to make sure you keep an eye out for them. Now I'm going to take my cut up greens. I'm just going to add them directly to this pot. Add them directly to this pot. Okay. Including this new set of, you know, those few others that we cut up right there. I'm going to add them directly to the pot. Now, don't worry about it burning. I'm using just this little spatula looking thing. I like it because it's soft. I'm just going to kind of stir this around. And you notice when I added it, the like the burning, not burning sensation, but that crackling sound that came from sauteing the vegetables, that kind of went away, which is perfectly fine. That's the pot readjusting its heat, readjusting to everything that's in here. While this is doing that, I don't want this to cook. I don't want to put this in here and then walk away. I want to now, once I put this in here, I want to add my seasoning. So my seasoning will include granulated garlic powder or granulated garlic, not granulated salt, okay? No granulated salt. Again, this is what I have in my pantry. I am not endorsing any of these people. This is just what's in my pantry. And I'm going to do it this way. So I want to shake and shake and shake until my ancestors tell me to stop. Now, bring this further. Now you can see how much that was garlic. That's how much garlic I put in there. You're like, well, how much? How do I know if I put too much? Well, here's the great thing about cooking. It's always to put enough and then come back and put more versus put too much. So the next thing I'm adding is some Mrs. Dash Table Blend. It is salt free. So I'm going to add a couple of shakes of that as well. Okay. Now I am sometimes I get my seasoning from the fresh produce, the seasonings, the spices department. And so this is black pepper. I'm just going to sprinkle some black pepper in this, like that. And next, I'm going to add just a couple of shakes of paprika, because, I feel like I should be cooking with paprika. Now, you notice I did not add salt, and that is on purpose. One, because I want to control the salt, the level of salt that's in this, and my salt intake. I want to control that, so I did not add salt. So I'm going to stir this all around. Smells amazing. And if you can't see it much, but there is a little bit of water that's forming at the bottom of this pan or this pot, and that's from the greens. And most greens, I guess, create their own sense of water or boil down to some type of water, but we want to make sure we add more liquid. So once we've stirred this, and the reason why we're stirring this is so that all the greens can experience all the seasonings I just put in here, okay? And it just don't rest on the top layer. So now that that's stirred, I'm now gonna add my vegetable broth. So I'm gonna shake this up really good, shake this up really good, shake this up really good. I don't necessarily have to do all that shaking, but this is what I wanted to do. So I'm actually gonna add this entire thing of vegetable broth. Bless me, excuse me. And so if you're measuring, I think this is about 2 cups. Oh, I could be wrong, because this is 2 cups right here. So this is 2 cups. Okay, it's 4 cups, almost 4 cups. So about 4 cups of vegetable broth is what I've added. I do want to keep, make sure that's been added. And to that 4 cups, I'm gonna add 1 cup of water. So we got 1 cup of water here. I'm gonna add that to it. Now the secret about cooking greens is as they continue to cook, then if it gets low on liquid, feel free to add more water. Water only, but add it maybe like half a cup to 1 cup at a time, depending on how much liquid they need. You don't want to add any more vegetable broth because it already has been added, and you don't want your greens too salty. So the water kind of helps cut some of that. Last but not least, I have one more thing to add. And not necessarily that this is the secret ingredient, but it goes hand in hand with cooking any fresh vegetables, greens or beans or anything like that. It is liquid smoke. So this is the brand that I use. I use the Hickory brand, and I'm going to add a little bit of this to these greens, because remember how I said earlier well, hold on, I need to get a knife to open this. So remember how I said earlier where we don't use smoked meat in our in our greens and our beans and stuff anymore because we're choosing to have better vibrational plates. We're going to use liquid smoke because it gives our food that imitation smoke flavor. So the thing with liquid smoke is it is highly concentrated. That's what I like to say. A little bit goes a long way. So when you open it, of course you have to open it from the inside too, but you see that little spout right there? So we're going to let the bottle drip. We're not going to squeeze. We're just going to do it like that, and the bottle itself will drip. So that's been 2. And so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's about 7. I'm going to do 8. That's about 8 of those little drops, okay? Again, it's better to have to add seasoning than it is to over season and you have too much, okay? So this is 2 small bundles of collard greens that I got from the grocery store. Back in the day, the bundles used to be huge, but these bundles were small. And so that's what I'm using for that, okay? So I'm getting ready to transition so we can make some cornbread. So as that is cooking, I'm going to shift this over so we can now focus on cornbread. So we have our pot. Let me get this butter. Okay, so first things first, cornbread. Now listen, I know that some of you are out here still using boxed cornbread, and that's okay. The reason why it's okay, because that's what you choose to do, and as Tabitha Brown says, that's your business. So be great in doing whatever you choose to do and how you choose to make your cornbread. But we're going to make cornbread from scratch, right? And we're going to make it vegan. So just as you do your boxed cornbread, some of the things I share here are great substitutes too, okay? So first we're going to start with our pan. This is just like a regular, now granted I usually make my cornbread in a square pan, but I ain't feel like doing that today. So today we're using a round one. Sometimes that serves as a cake pan. Mind your business. Whatever. Now we're going to use butter. Now the vegan butter of choice that I like to use is the Miyoko's brand. Right? I like it for many reasons. One, it doesn't, anyways, I like it for many reasons, but this is not an endorsement, so use whatever vegan butter brand that you want to use. And with this butter, we're going to use about 1/4 of a stick, okay? So We're going to use about 1/4 of a stick of this butter. And what we're going to do with that, we're going to take that 1/4, put it in our pan like that. And we're going to put this in the oven because what we want to do is we want this butter to melt so that as we're making our flour mixture, once this is melted, we can add it to our cornbread because it definitely takes your cornbread to another level. So we're gonna put this in the oven. Woo! And the oven is set to 375. So it is a little warm. Yeah, but it's set to 375, right? All right, so now let's get ready to prepare our cornbread. All right, so let me get a bowl. So we have our bowl. Now let's get some flour. So we're gonna need flour, we're gonna need cornmeal, we're gonna need baking powder, we're gonna need an egg substitute, a milk substitute, and we have our butter, okay? Oh, and sugar, all right? So let me cover these greens and let me get this flour and I'll be right back. I ain't going nowhere, I'm just moving away from the camera, okay? Moving our stuff over, get our flour, our cornmeal, and our baking powder. Cover that. I see I lost an earring, so let's take the other one off too. All right, so now what we need, this is going to be our recipe. We're going to use 1 cup of flour. So let's change our camera view again. Let's put you here. All right, so we got our flour. We're going to use 1 cup of this flour. It can be, I use unbleached flour, but it can be whatever you want. All right. So we measured out 1 cup. 1 cup. 1 cup of flour. All right. Put that to the side. Cornmeal. It has to say cornmeal on here, so whatever brand is your choice. This is not an endorsement for any of these brands. This is just what I use and or what I have in the house, but usually is what I use. So cornmeal, we're gonna add, so you always want to add equal parts flour and cornmeal. So we had 1 cup of flour. We're going to use 1 cup of cornmeal. All right. So that's our cornmeal. Okay. And sugar. Now, for those who've known me for a while, or who follow me with the vegan baking, you know that we don't use white sugar. Sorry, let me open this. This would have worked better with scissors, but oh well, the knife was right there. So we don't use white sugar because white sugar, to make white sugar, they take cane sugar, mix it with animal bone ashes, and that's how they make white sugar. Well, we don't want any of that in our food, so we use organic cane sugar, all right? Just because it says cane sugar doesn't mean that it's vegan. It has to say organic cane sugar, okay? Because I've seen some labels that say cane sugar, and what they really mean is white sugar, and they're lying. So if you look on the back of the ingredients, the back of the ingredient should say organic cane sugar. That's it. That's all should be on there. If it has anything else, then chances are it's white sugar, all right? So we're going to use about a 1/4 cup of sugar. Now, the thing with cornbread, it can be as sweet as you want it to be, but I think 1/4 cup is sweet enough. If I was preparing this to make my dressing, because I know some people eat cornbread and then some people also have dressing. If I'm making this for dressing, I would not add the sugar, all right? So I would just make it without the sugar, and it would be perfectly fine without it. All right, so that's that. All right, so now we need some baking powder. Not to be confused with baking soda. So, baking powder. We're going to use 3½ teaspoons of baking powder. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 3½ teaspoons of baking powder. Let me check on my butter, because I do not want it to be browned. I just want it to be melted, okay? So this is our butter. You hear that? It's melted. It looks good. I'm going to stick that there. All right, so we have our baking powder. Now we need 1 teaspoon of salt. By the way, the butter that I'm using is salt-free. So if the butter had salt, I would probably not include this salt. But because the butter does not, then I'm including this 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 cup of milk. So I like to use oat milk, just regular plain oat milk. In my opinion, shaking this up because this is a new carton. In my opinion, oat milk has the consistency of cow's milk, the thickness, that thick feeling of whole cow's milk. That's what oat milk has, and so that's what I'm looking for. You can also make this with other types of milk alternatives, but I use oat milk. And so we want 1 cup of this, right? And honestly, I'm gonna hold off on that 1 cup of milk. I'm gonna put that to the side. I am now gonna add my my egg. So for me, I use applesauce, organic, unsweetened applesauce as the egg replacer. Because you're looking for a binder, and it helps make your stuff that you're baking for sure softer. So these little containers that are like 4 ounces that you get from the store, these are the equivalent to about 2 eggs. So I'm gonna use only half of this, or the equivalent to what I think is half. Okay, so I'm gonna use about half of this, the equivalent or the equivalent thereof. Now, I'm going to take my milk, pour it in here, all right? Now, let's mix this together. I personally like to use like a little whisk. And I'm whisking this together, whisking this together, whisking this together. If for any reason, like you feel like your cornbread is thicker than what you would like, when I'll show you what. So when I say thicker, so you see how this kind of just is real clumpy. I'm gonna keep stirring, but I actually may add just a dollop, well, not a dollop, but a few drops more of milk, only because that's what I want to do. You don't have to. It's totally up to you. One thing for sure, you don't want to add too much because you don't want your cornbread soupy. You know what? In fact, I'm gonna leave it like this for your sake. And since this is a teaching video, I'm gonna leave it like this. Now we've mixed this well, right? We mixed this up real well. All the ingredients are together. Okay, we mixed this up real well. Now we're gonna add our butter, which hopefully has not. Okay. If you take your butter out too soon, it will like get hard again, and we don't want it to get hard. We want it to still have some kind of liquid to it. And so by melting your butter in this pan, you've now buttered your pan, okay? So we're gonna leave that butter on. Don't scrape that butter off the bottom of your pan. Keep it like it is because it helps butter your pan. Now that excess butter, we put that here. We're gonna stir this around like such. And this is another reason why I didn't add any more milk, because that butter adds a little bit of liquid to it as well. Okay. So now our cornbread is mixed and it's ready to go in the oven. So we're going to actually just take this. Let's adjust this so you can see me pouring this into the pan. We're going to put this in our pan that is buttered. Our oven is already on 375. And this is going to cook for maybe 17 to 20 minutes. When it is golden brown, it will be ready, okay? Golden brown is when it is ready. We want to make sure that this is, I'm going to bring this over here really quick. We want to make sure after we pour it in, we want to make sure that this is evened out the best that it can be. It is okay if you have those little butter pockets or whatever. That is fine. That is no problem. All right. Scrape off our excess. And now we're going to put this in the oven. And again, this is going in for about 17 to 20 minutes. I'm now getting another spoon. We're going to bring this closer so you can see everything and how our greens are doing. So our greens have been cooking for a few minutes now. So we just want to look and see how they're doing, okay? Ooh, do you see that? I'm going to fit this straight up so you can see. All right, so you see these greens? You see how they're cooking? I don't know if you see a lot of steam or not, but they're looking really, really good. They are looking really good. So, I'm going to put this back here.